Kiernan, can you please call the roll?
Murphy?
Here.
DeKotch? Here. Dietrich?
Here.
Gleva?
Here.
Scales?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here this morning. Before we begin, I'd like to reiterate some of the ground rules about how the meeting will proceed. So many of our residents are passionate about what we're discussing today, and let's recognize that everyone here, regardless of their opinion, must be given a fair opportunity to speak without feeling intimidated. It's critical that everyone in this room feels safe. During public comment this morning, we will not allow reactions like cheering, booing, clapping, or other disruptions that could interfere with that. If this starts, we will stop the meeting and go into recess immediately until calm and order can be restored. It's important that no matter what your perspective, you aren't bullied by cheering or clapping from others that feel differently. Throughout this development process, we have heard from over 200 residents via email as well as in person here. I absolutely respect and appreciate your concern, your engagement, and the responsibility that you are taking in your representative democracy. I can assure you that you have been heard and that opinions on all sides of this proposed moratorium have been heard and carefully, painstakingly weighed. Today we will take public comment, but we will limit it to an hour if necessary. I would like to remind everyone that unlike the Planning Commission meetings, this is not a public hearing, and an opportunity for public comment today is not required. This City Council meeting is a business meeting. It has an agenda, and I, as the presiding officer, am choosing to provide a time for residents to comment because I think it's important for all sides. We will take a 5-minute recess. Convened. With that, let's agree to be dignified and kind in our approach today. Let's agree to feel strongly and perhaps differently about things, as people sometimes do. But at the same time, regardless of this, let's please remain cognizant of what we have in common. We all live here, and we all want what's best for our families. We go to the same parks, and we go to the same restaurants, churches, shops, you name it. Let's please remember that today. Let's agree to set a good example as a community and treat each other with respect and care. Thank you all again for being here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With that, I will turn to Administrator Heinecker.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. I'm actually going to defer to our counselor, your litigation counselor, Jake Kubiszek. He's going to provide an update for you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. My name is Jason Kubushek. I'm with the Iverson Reavers Law Firm. We were retained by the League of Minnesota Cities to assist the city following the receipt of a May 19th letter from Attorney Jake Steen. This letter is a threat of litigation letter, a very specific threat. Before I get into that letter, I really want to explain what our role is. Once cities receive either actual lawsuit or a significant threat of litigation letter, we're retained to help guide you through that process. And in that process, we really have two roles. First, we are assessing risk and likelihood of success based on the claims alleged or the alleged damages. And then we also, if the case gets sued out, we represent the city through the litigation process. So we're involved with all the court hearings, the motions, trial if we get there. And while we're in that litigation process, we're constantly assessing the risk and likelihood of success. Right now, we're what's called pre-suit, so you have not formally been sued. There's nothing in district court, but you do have a threat of litigation letter, which we've been evaluating and looking at. And so, to go to that May 19th letter, which I know is in the packet and has been a public document, the project proposer for the data center has made a number of claims. They have first alleged that the interim ordinance that is on your agenda today for a third reading was improperly enacted, that it singles them out. Beyond that, they've also alleged takings claims, that you've taken their property or will be taking their property through this regulation, and they're asserting that under both the state and federal constitutions. And then they also allude to some contractual or business interference claims. So in addition to those claims, some of those claims have, beyond just damages, they have other avenues that they can seek relief. For example, if the project proposer is successful on the takings claims, whether under the state constitution or federal constitution, they can also seek to recover their attorney's fees and costs. And that's kind of, typically when you have litigation, each party bears their own attorney's fees and costs. But when there's constitutional claims under the state and federal constitution, it allows for this fee shifting. So it adds this additional exposure to the city, in that you would have to, if they're successful on those claims, you would have to pay their attorney's fees and costs. So you have that beyond the damages. Now, the letter asserts that if this project is stopped through your actions, that they will sustain damages in excess of $150 million. It's a very large number. We are pre-litigation, pre-suit, so I can't sit here and say 100% that that is the number of damages. It's what they've alleged. It's what we have to evaluate the file on right now. But we do anticipate, if they were successful, there would be a damage award. They would seek the biggest damage award they could get, and then they're going to seek their attorney's fees and costs. So we evaluate that, and then we also compare it to, like I said, we're retained by the League of Minnesota Cities. You're a member of the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust, and through that you receive insurance coverage. They're a little different than a traditional insurance company, but it is still an insurance policy, and it has its limits. And the limit in this particular for the city is $1 million. So with that in mind, we have to evaluate what's the risk or what's the possibility that this project proposer could be successful and could have a damage award in excess of that insurance limit. Because if they are successful in getting, whether it's damages and or attorney's fees in excess of $1 million, that's paid directly by the city. That's no longer covered by the League of Minnesota Insurance Trust. That's something that is paid by you, and you have to find the funds, whether it's from a special account or from a general fund, whatever it may be. So that's really the exposure that you have in this case financially. On the claims regarding the interim ordinance, the regulatory taking, the tortious interference, we have reviewed the interim ordinance as it currently reads. It's certainly it's similar to other ones we have seen, but as I sit here, I cannot 100% guarantee to you that it will be upheld. I don't think any attorney can sit here and make that guarantee. And if they try to, they're really putting their neck on the line. There are no guarantees. Ultimately, the claims go before a district court judge. And district court judges are highly qualified, very intelligent, have dealt with a lot of legal issues. But you have to recognize municipal law and interim ordinances are a unique niche. And sometimes we run into judges that have never had a municipal law case. And if we run into those and they may not know the law off the top of their head and have to do some research on interim ordinances. So with that in mind, we don't have any guarantees with regard to the interim ordinance. And then also, the regulatory takings, those are very factual specific. They would involve a lot of litigation, which we would have our defense costs, but then also the opportunity for the project proposers' attorneys' fees and costs to be escalating, so that if they're successful, you could be looking at a large number. So we evaluate that, and we look at, do we ignore the letter, proceed forward onto with our actions and onto litigation, or do we look at some type of mechanism to try to resolve some of the issues? And so we have, since receipt of this, been looking at some of those issues, and we've evaluated some of the concerns that have been raised regarding this project, and what can be done to deal with those concerns. As you are aware, and I think it's been noted a number of times, under the current city code, this data center is a permitted use. And as such, you can't, when it's permitted use, you're legally bound by your code, which says, if they meet the requirements, you give them the permit. You're not allowed to add any restrictions or conditions upon permitted uses. So what we've tried to do and have talked to you about is really, is there a path forward? Is there a way to deal with the citizen concerns and to gain something from this situation that we would not normally be entitled to? And so we have negotiated with the project proposer a recordable restrictions of covenants, or excuse me, a declaration of covenants and restrictions, which adds on essentially conditions that you would normally not be entitled to with this permitted use. It's a document that deals with, we look at the equipment and acoustic improvements, so things to reduce the noise from those items. We've looked at building enhancements from the initial site plans and drawings that were submitted. We've looked at enhancing the landscaping to put up additional vegetative barriers. We've looked at mechanical yard modifications to, again, deal with the acoustics and noise that emanate from it. We have looked at and addressed generator testing and when it can be done and how it must be done. And then we've also looked at noise standards, both a look at what it is now, so essentially the background or ambient noise currently, the noise that the project proposer models have suggested that the project will have, and then the combined effect. And along that line, we've added in a requirement for testing. And if they do not meet what they have said are their proposed noise levels, they have to fix it. So we've put in testing requirements, both at the initial when they first start up, but then also if there's any material modification. So if they increase, so I know the project's talked about to be done in phases. If they increase that second phase, there's another round of testing. And if they try to do another material modification, there's another round of testing. If that testing is not met, they have to fix it. And if they refuse to fix it and we find them in default of these provisions, we have the ability to go after them. So we have the ability to enforce the document, and then if we are correct, they have to pay our fees and costs associated with that. So we've really tried to put in a mechanism to hold them to these standards. And again, these covenants, restrictions are something that you would not get but for some type of resolution with the proposer. So, we've looked at this. We're suggesting that there's a way to resolve this, and we're making the recommendation we go down the path that would be first, you'd amend the interim ordinance, and they would be excluded from it. And then the second part would be you have this major site plan application would be approved with the requirement or condition that these recordable covenants and restrictions be added to it. So coming into, I think it was yesterday afternoon, about 4 o'clock, that's what I had all proposed and was going to suggest to you. At the time, late yesterday afternoon, the city was notified and received a petition for an EAW from a number of residents within the city of Inver Grove Heights. So that changes things a bit, because with that, the receipt of that, and we did receive last night from the EQB, the Environmental Quality Board, that the city has been designated as the responsible government unit, the RGU. And so you then have to make a determination on that petition for an EAW. And you don't make that today. I don't think you have the ability or the background to make that decision today. But the interesting part about the filing of that petition for the EAW is it now prevents you from acting upon the major site plan application until that decision on the petition is made. So even if I was standing here recommending that you amend the interim ordinance and then act on the major site plan, you can't under state law. So knowing that, my recommendation today is that we have this petition for an EAW. You want to have it looked at. Staff's going to assist you with that process. You want to make a determination on it. I'm recommending that you table the interim ordinance decision until you have a look at the petition for the environmental review. And along that same line, you also table the major site plan application, because that would also follow after you've had a chance to look at the petition for the EAW. So with that, if Mayor, Council, if you have any questions, I certainly can speak to the questions, but I will, obviously I'm not going to get into any attorney-client privilege discussions we've had, but if you do have some general questions, I'm certainly here to answer those.
Thank you, Attorney Kubitschek. Can you weigh in at all and let the public know about the 12-month moratorium, what that would look like if we were not successful in a court of law? What that would mean for other data centers?
Certainly. So, Mayor, if I understand your question is, the question is, what happens if the project proposer is correct and a court finds in their favor with regard to the interim ordinance, if I understand it correctly?
Correct.
And I think if the project proposer is correct, and I'm not going to concede that, but I'll just go along this hypothetical, if they are correct, that would have the effect of striking down the entire interim ordinance. It wouldn't just strike down the interim ordinance with regard to the project proposer. It would strike down the entire interim ordinance. So in that time period after that occurs, you would be going back to where you were before you had the first reading or adoption of the interim ordinance. You essentially would have data centers as a permitted use according to your zoning code.
Okay, so they could legally be here where they're zoned in that hypothetical situation.
Both the project proposer could be here where they're legally zoned, and then if any new applicant came in and met the code requirements and would be a permitted use, then they could also move forward.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Any other questions from council?
Mayor,
Yes,
go ahead.
Councilor Murphy.
Sorry. Oh, thank you. Jason, what is the origin of the EAW, the petition? Where does that come from?
Mayor, Council, so the petition for an EAW, it requires 100 signatures from city residents. My understanding, I haven't gone through the entire document. It's about 237 pages from what I've seen. My understanding is there's more than 100 signatures on it. There's one individual, I'm drawing a blank. First name is Carl, I believe, but I draw a blank on the last name. I'm sorry. They put it together. They set forth what they view to be the significant environmental effects. It gets submitted to the EQB. The EQB last night went through it. Really what they're looking at is not so much as to the environmental issues, but more the procedural issues. Do they have enough signatures? Did they do the right form? And that's what the EQB determined they did. And so that's why they were able to designate you as the RGU. But back to the origin of the petition for the EAW is from the petitioners or the signatories to the document.
And those would be typically IGH residents, or could they be from anywhere?
Typically, they're city residents. Again, I haven't gone through all the signatures to evaluate where everyone resides, but.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilor Takach.
Jason, if the interim ordinance is found to be, through the process, is found to be invalid, as you spoke about, how do I want to say this? Could the city just work on changing their ordinance the way we do for any other ordinance before we got another data center request?
Sure, Mayor, council members. I have a bit of a difficulty in fully answering that, only because in part it would depend on what the court's order is with regard to the interim ordinance. But if, and again, this is purely hypothetical, but if the court's order just struck down that ordinance, then in theory, the city could then go through the process of adopting a new interim ordinance that, maybe excludes the project proposer, but some other data center could possibly challenge that. And you still have to go through your 3 readings, unless I understand there's a process you can waive that reading requirement. But so there are some ways that you could possibly adopt another interim ordinance, but again, there's some uncertainty there. So I can't say the exact path. I can kind of give you some guidelines or guide rails, but I can't give you the exact path.
And then a separate issue, could you explain the July 1st deadline? Does the EAW automatically delay that? Because clearly we'll pass that.
Sure. Mayor, council members, that's a great question. And I think I alluded to it in my memo that's in the packet. Part of the reason we have this early morning meeting and had to continue it from Monday is because up until the receipt of the petition for the EAW, we were under a bit of a time crunch. because while the data center itself is a permitted use, in conjunction with it is this major site plan review. And so that has to go through review ultimately by the city council. And Minnesota statute 1599, which is also known as the 60-day rule, indicates when you have these type of applications that have to have a decision made by the governing body, they have to be made either within 60 days of the application submitted, or if you've, the city's allowed to extend it an additional 60 to 120, which is what the city did with regard to the major site plan. So with the major site plan review, the 120 days got us to July 1. And so we were having to schedule this meeting on the interim ordinance as well as the major site plan to make sure that we had adequate time before that July 1 deadline. Now, with the filing of the petition for the EAW, it does stop that clock. So even though environmental review now is going to take us past July 1, because of the environmental review, we don't have to and can't make a decision on the major site plan by July 1. We get to make it after the petition for environmental review decision is made.
And is there any idea how long that takes, that decision process?
With regard to the petition for the EAW, you have to make that decision within 15 business days, but you could also, kind of like the 60-day rule, you get an additional 15 business days, which my understanding, because we want to make sure we take a good hard look at this, that the city is going to take the full 30 business days to review it, because we want to make sure you take a look at it, relying on staff as well as probably outside consultants to assist you in that process. So that pushes everything out, 30 business days before that petition for EAW is going to come back before you for review.
Thank you.
Anything else from council?
Yeah.
Councilor Scales.
I want to understand the steps a little bit. If we go forward with the moratorium, including the existing application, we've got the environmental in place. What's the timeline for the steps, and what are our, I know there are decision points along the way, as we go. What's a likely scenario of the process and the length of time it would take to get through it?
Okay, thank you. Mayor, Council, to talk regarding the time frame. So you have the interim ordinance for the third readings before you. That is not tied to the petition for the EAW. However, as I talked about my recommendation for resolving the potential litigation, I do feel it's tied to the major site plan application. So that's why I had made the recommendation that you table both together. With regard to the timing, again, it comes back to the petition for the EAW, the RGU decision has to be made within 30 business days. After that, then you have, and this is where the question becomes, does it reset the clock, or are you stuck with the 4 days afterwards? Obviously, the safest is that you assume that it doesn't reset the clock, and you've got 4 days after your petition for EAW to make a decision on the major site plan. But, again, I'm working with the city attorney to make sure we've got that timeline correct. So I don't want to put any false expectations. I think it's going to happen fairly quickly after the determination is made on the petition for the EAW, but I don't have that exact date that I can share right now.
Second question. If we table it, can we go back during that time between getting back to it and talk about our zoning and do some changes there? Or does that stop us from moving forward on zoning changes and talking about where these data centers can be in our city?
All right. Mayor, Council, if I'm understanding the question correctly, it's whether or not, if this matter gets tabled, can the city and staff go back and begin the process of evaluating its city code with regard to data centers? And if that's the question, the answer is yes. you have had the ability from the moment you've had the first reading on the interim ordinance up to this point to start that process of evaluating your city code, evaluating what you want as permitted uses, what you perhaps want as interim or conditional uses, and what you want as prohibited uses. So you certainly have that ability, regardless of whether or not it's tabled, to do that review with the code.
But can you put it in place or just discuss it?
Well, you have certain, Mayor, Council, you have certain requirements with regard to zoning amendments and for, publication, public meetings, and adoptions. You can certainly look at making those amendments during the process where it's tabled.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, then before we call for a motion, I will open it up for public comment. As stated, everyone can have up to 3 minutes, and we will take up to an hour if needed. Okay, please come to the podium, anyone that would like to speak. Good morning.
Good morning. I guess call me Carl. I'm actually Carrie Lundberg. I'm the one who submitted the petition. So I'm here to provide an update. You guys have already kind of talked about it, but I'm just going to walk through it a little bit here as well. An update on our petition. The community is passionate about the data center issue, and obviously you can tell very engaged. We gathered over 700 signatures. The majority of them were from Inver Grove Heights and South St. Paul. Based on the thing, it's Dakota County and surrounding counties for this petition. And we submitted it yesterday afternoon, but everybody knows that. We know that a moratorium to include this data center project is a major decision, and we are grateful to the 3 council members who voted in favor of it in the previous hearings. Your votes share a deep care for our city's future. What residents are asking for today is for the rest of the council to join them in that caution so we can work together. An EAW is a standard objective tool. It simply looks at the environmental and human impacts of a project. If a new football stadium or public road requires this kind of review, a data center certainly should too. Unfortunately, data center development is moving much faster than state rules can keep up with. While the citizens across the state are working to update those regulations, the government moves slowly and the law isn't there yet. This is why the moratorium that includes a proposed project is so vital. It's a responsible pause button that allows the entire council to take some time to learn more before making irreversible choices. Let's use this pause to truly understand the impacts. The EAW and the moratorium are 2 tools we can use that complement each other and allow us the time to fully understand the situation. Getting the facts first is the responsible way forward. It ensures a transparent process that protects the community and the environment, supports the council, and ensures this project is done correctly. Thank you for your time, your leadership, and your willingness to listen. Let's keep working on this together.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
All right, does it have a timer here?
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, I live, I don't know, maybe argumentally as close as anybody does to the town, to the data center. My understanding is this is going to severely impact the value of my home, which basically is the only asset I have. I have asthma. Oh, hello. Hey, are we here? Much better. All right, so I live as close as anyone. I literally am behind Brookdale and in Twin Oaks. And my home is my only asset. And as you can see, I'm pretty close to retirement. I very much fear for myself personally, this is literally not in my backyard, but I fear that my home is going to be both unlivable and unsellable with the noise and everything. And I understand he mentioned mitigations. I guess they're putting up bushes is some of the ideas. The question I have is, what is the city, what are our plans to assist the people in the immediate area? This is a known thing, that it is severely damages the value of the home. Want to find out if you guys have any assistance or anything that you're going to do, or consider that, or maybe put these next to your homes, I guess, because it's really going to affect my life my retirement is going to be decided by the 5 of you. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will call a 5-minute recess for clapping. Reconvened. Our attorney, Kubishek, had some very enlightening advice that he's going to share with the audience that may help.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a very passionate group. It's a large meeting. But in the same respect, we want to get through this. And so we're balancing out, the applause and the acknowledgement of the speakers and the noise it creates versus our, letting everyone have an opportunity to speak in the full hour. And so in other situations where I've had meetings like this, we have taken the approach of no audible, like you are right now, no audible comments or clapping, but instead, because the public wants to acknowledge what the speaker has said. So instead, we have utilized the American Sign Language sign for applause, which my daughters were dancers, you call it jazz hands. But it does give the public the ability to acknowledge the speakers in a way that the council can see the public's view of the speaker's opinion, but we don't have the noise and clapping. So I guess from a standpoint, I would recommend that approach, and it'll allow us to get through this public comment period.
Okay, thank you. We do want to hear as many people as possible. Good morning.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me? Yep. Can you hear this? Now, I'm not going to change the volume whatsoever, but I am going to change the pitch. Felt like it got louder, right? It didn't. But low-frequency noise can have a profound impact on human health and happiness. It can cause migraines, sleep disturbance, dizziness, hypertension, and more. In fact, horror movies will often use low-frequency sound to cause a sense of anxiety or unease with their audience because it causes a spike in cortisol, the stress hormone. Currently, however, Minnesota state law sets no limit on the intensity of low-frequency noise production or exposure, not even in residential zones, not even at night. This is because the law defines noise statutes using the A-weighted decibel scale, which intentionally, grossly underrepresents low frequencies because it is trying to mimic the human eardrum, which I just demonstrated to you is terrible at hearing low frequencies. But anyone who's ever touched a subwoofer knows that humans can experience sound in more ways than just their eardrums. There does, however, exist an international standard that is ISO 7196, which defines the G-weighted decibel scale. This scale is intended to represent how humans experience specifically low-frequency sound using the full range of their senses. This includes sound that is so low-pitched that the eardrum cannot detect it at all, but your other senses can. I am proposing that our city establish an ordinance limiting low-frequency sound very similarly to how the state is already limiting sound in general. This could even use the exact same numbers as the existing statute as far as decibel levels, just base it on the G scale instead of the A scale. Thank you for your time. Do not clap.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Kristen. I'm a resident of South St. Paul, but I'm also on the Inver Grove Heights border. I actually live right behind the field and the airport. So I'm very familiar with sounds. The airplanes take off frequently, especially Miss Mitchell, which shakes my house. And he brought up the sound that he stole my thunder. And that's what I came up here for today, because my daughter is autistic and sounds bother her. And when we first learned about data centers, one of the first things we learned about was the frequency it brings off. And so when I looked up the specifics that they gave, this graphic, these numbers aren't right, because an airplane taking off is 140 dBAs, it's saying. Well, they have to live by the EPA laws, and there's no way this is right, because these take off every single day. And so if they're saying that they're going to be drastically less than that, well, data centers are 70, they give off up to 65 to 95 decibel levels. So they're projecting, their numbers are comfortably low. There's no way they're comfortably low. I've heard them, and they are actually damaging to animals, people. They cause significant amounts of stress to even fetuses in the womb. So imagine what that would be like next to your house, your house, day in and day out, constantly. Think about what it would be like if you work from home. I do. So when those airplanes take off, the people in our headsets, they can hear them. Now, are they going to hear our data center? Maybe, maybe not. But I can't even imagine sitting next to an airplane and a data center every single day. It would be awful. When has somebody in a suit with millions of dollars threatening you, saying, this is a good thing? Is it going to be a good thing for us in the end? No. When has the current administration ever done anything for us good in the end? They are currently pushing back restrictions for our federal lands. For what? To mine, so they can get what is needed to run these data centers. And these data centers are for AI, so they can go into our public records, so they can spy on us. It's not going to be a good thing for us in the end. It is never a good thing for us. We, the people, when we stood up and did the Pledge of Allegiance, it was for us. We, the people. This is to benefit them. This will never, and I promise you, never benefit us or this planet in the end. So when you are thinking about this $150 million threat, I will pay this out of my taxes gladly.
Thank you.
Don't clap.
Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Mayor and City Council members. My name is Lisa Frenette. I am a citizen of Inver Grove Heights. In my past life, I have done a lot of environmental and energy policy at the Capitol. In my past life, I have done a lot of environmental and energy work at the Capitol. Worked on EAWs, I've worked with the EQB, et cetera. I have a couple of questions and comments. First of all, I am one of the people that submitted a data practices request the other day. I want to know what's going to happen with that if you decide not to pass this interim moratorium on the data center. It does not give the people the ability to look at what actually the impacts are of the AI data center. The attorney talked about a memo that got put together yesterday that apparently is going to be used with the data center folks who want to build. We'd like to see that. What exactly is in that? You've got some great talking points, but it doesn't show us what's actually in it. I'd like to know why an EAW wasn't done in the first place, especially in light of the fact that all over the country, people are having fits about data centers. We all know that they are being struck down in several areas of very many communities. And I think it would be really wise for you guys to answer those questions and figure out what's going to happen. The public has a right to know what the impacts are of this exactly. And a judge is going to be able to figure that out. We have a lot of good judges here. Most likely it will go to District 4 in Ramsey. There's a lot of great judges there who will take a lot of time to figure out what's going on. So please, take into consideration what an EAW would have done and helped us through with. And you may have the petitions, but if you pass this and we see the data practices information afterwards, it does nothing to help the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Just fine. My name is Claire, and I live right across the lake from where the data center is planning to be built. One of my concerns is also on location.
Okay.
It is going to be literally across the street from 3 children care facilities and assisted living. There is no barrier in between and probably no way to even use shrubbery for sound cover. Everyone else has already stated the health problems that come with data centers and their noises. My other concern is water. We already know that data centers use a lot of water consumption in their everyday use. And I'm just wondering where the plan is for that water. Is it going to come from our lake that is right behind my house, or is it going to come from the city's water tower? These are things that do need to be taken into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Molly. I'm a citizen of South St. Paul. The council has already heard many comments about the environmental impact of data centers, so I'm not going to waste my time talking about that today. Instead, I'm going to talk about community, particularly the people who make up community. For example, today, some very kind people have volunteered to watch my sons while I speak, so I have the opportunity to address the council. Many people have come here to voice their concerns about council. We have a very packed room, and we have a council standing before us. Many scenes like this have played out all over the country already, with varying results. But I wonder if the council has taken the time to think about what the end results of this meeting could be. We have already speculated about lawyers, about lawsuits, but unlike the out-of-state lawyers and tech executives who could walk away, and with potential threats that we don't know that they'll follow through, let's talk about what we actually know. We know that there is a room full of angry constituents standing in front of you right now. And unlike those out-of-state lawyers and tech executives, when this meeting is over and the votes conclude, you will still have to go to stores with them. Your children will still have to go to school with them. And you will still have to petition for votes for them in the coming years. And we're only hypothesizing about the short term right now. Looking in the back, I am counting 4 video cameras linked to major news agencies and countless people on their phones who are recording this conference right now. I'm not sure how much the council has been paying attention to social media, but this little council meeting has gone quite viral. Quite literally, people in Reykjavik know all the council's names right now. We don't have to even speculate about what the end results of this could be because we already have case studies about what the end results of meetings like this are. In Warrenton, Virginia, after a city council voted for the allowance of a data center in the next election, every single council member who voted for it was immediately voted out by council members who ran exclusively on anti-data center votes. The immediate impending vote to remove the data center was their next vote. In Ferris, Missouri, following a vote to allow a data center that was ignored by the people, the city launched a recall vote of the mayor and every single member of the council. And right here in Minnesota, in Circle Pines, after a lawsuit stopped the building of a data center, the mayor resigned in disgrace within days of this decision. This alone was not enough to stop the vitriol of the people, judging by the online comments, which I will not be reading out loud, because doing so would almost certainly violate the decorum of this hall. One does not have to search very hard to see the vitriol of people who have been ignored by their councils. There are local calls for boycotts, comments posted directly to council members' social media websites, counter-council campaigns.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Pam Glenn. I'm a citizen of Inver Grove Heights. I'm going to reiterate a little bit of what I've said previously, but you know, the question keeps coming to my mind, and we discussed it at Tony's town hall meeting the other night, which was super helpful. The question keeps coming to my mind, why would you not? Why would you not consider environmental impacts, which, as you're already hearing, you've heard it multiple times, the noise impact, the air, water, pollution impact, also the financial impact, as you're hearing, impact on businesses and homes. If I'm starting a new business, I don't want to come to Inver Grove Heights that has a new data center, that has the potential of expanding. I don't want to buy a home in this community, right? I'm a healthcare provider. I understand that these risks are real. I get daily national reputable emails from the physician groups who are already seeing negative impacts on people's health, which needs to be researched solidly, and that takes time. We need time. What also came out of the meeting the other night, the town hall meeting, is the idea that passing a moratorium shows our strength, shows that our community is willing to stand with you all. We're all in this together. And stand with you all so we can all work through this together and show our strength. If we don't pass a moratorium, they can walk all over us. And then to do legal action down the road is going to be long-term, very costly, potentially. and not lead to any changes that are in the immediate affecting people's health. So please consider this. I appreciate the time, and I appreciate all of us working together to deal with this, and we're in this together. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Noah Bouchard. I'm a Assembly High School student as well as Inver Hills, so I'm a Assembly High School student as well as Inver Hills student. I also work in the community, and myself and a lot of my peers have held the same sentiment in questioning the fact that, according to a quick Google search, around 300,000 to 500,000 gallons of water are used each day, and typically uses 10,000 to 25,000 households worth of electricity. Yet this project stipulates that it will use 5 megawatts, which is allegedly significantly less than the average data center and presumably less water than average. All these claims of low water and electrical come from the developer. The city has had an independent engineer verify these claims, and how will we be certain that the energy usage won't be grossly higher than projected and subsequently put more strain on the water and electrical grid in Inver Grove? Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
My name's Darby Kreiser. I'm 15 years old. I work in Inver Grove Heights. I've grown up in Inver Grove Heights, and I'll be the one living with the decisions you guys make today. I would ask that at these meetings, you really do think about 20 to 30 years ahead when I'll have to live these out. I ask that you don't just sacrifice stuff for short-term benefits, and you really do decide for the future. Please make the decision that protects the future of Inver Grove Heights and my generation and generations to come after it.
Thank you.
The kids are all right. My name is Jeff Dipperner. I lived in Inver Grove Heights for almost a decade. I grew up in South St. Paul, and I'm the communications director for the Minnesota Environmental Justice Table. This community is fighting against something bigger than just one data center. This is about who this city answers to and whether or not the people of this city have a voice in the decisions that impact their lives. The mayor mentioned that we go to the same places. My brother and my grandfather are buried at St. Patrick's Cemetery. Not far from there is the biggest open landfill in Minnesota, and not far from that is the toxic ash from a Minneapolis trash burner is landfilled right next to Spring Lake Park, threatening the ground and surface water. Dakota County has been absorbing the consequences of decisions made against our will or without our say for a long time, and I think that time has come to an end right now. Data centers are another version of this story, and they're a financial boondoggle. An MIT report showed that 95% of generative AI projects are returning zero value despite tens of billions of dollars in investments. Researchers say that deals like this eventually reveal a house of cards, and when this bubble bursts, which many smart people say it will, we're going to be left holding the bag. We'll be left with the same empty building, but all of the consequences that we never asked for. Across this country, as you've heard, 70 jurisdictions nearly have enacted moratoriums in red states and blue states, big cities, rural counties, teachers, construction workers, young people are showing up. Inver Grove Heights belongs in that company. The Minnesota Environmental Justice Table believes that the people closest to the harm should have a say in the decisions that affect our health and our future, and communities across the country are demanding the same. We're asking you to grow a spine, frankly. Hold the moratorium, establish a formal community process, conduct the environmental review. This community And you all deserve to make an informed choice. You deserve that freedom. We deserve that freedom. A moratorium gives us that freedom, and we're calling on you today to defend our freedoms and stand up to these out-of-state, unaccountable, rich data centers and their developers. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Good morning.
Good morning, Council. My name is Joseph Burnett. I moved to Inver Grove Heights 2 years ago. I'm a father. I work here. And when I drove up here today, I did not expect this. I did not expect to see flags being waved, people excited about caring for their community, about the long-term health and viability of their community. I'm not sure I'm going to come up here and say anything new, but I want to echo the things that my fellow residents have said. I'm a father of a child with autism with unique sensory needs as well. I'm concerned about the sound. I'm concerned about our environment. I grew up in Minnesota. I grew up going to the Boundary Waters. I have loved and respected our environment my entire life. And worrying about waste, heat, water being dumped and algal blooms, if we haven't done an environmental impact already, I don't know what we're doing here. In terms of the economic impact, we have an infrastructure that adequately supports the number of people and the demand that we have. How will this increased demand due to the data center impact our infrastructure? How will that change how we're taxed? Are we going to be paying for changes to our infrastructure in order to support a data center that we are collectively not interested in? How is it going to impact the cost of electricity over time? Will the data center runners be responsible for those increases in costs to heating our homes, to cooling our homes, to entertaining our friends and family as we live and grow together in this community? We are a part of a community, and we care about it deeply, and we want you to remember that. Thank you for your time.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Matthew Mordorsky, and I moved into the South Grove townhome build near Oakwood Park in December of 2022. A lot of people have raised concerns about water and sound. I would also like to talk about power. Since I moved into the townhome development, I've lost power 14 times, with a lot of those outages lasting more than 4 hours. And the townhome development was 70 townhome units and 10 single-family homes. So if you put a data center right in the middle of Inver Grove and they state that they're going to draw 5 megawatts of power, how is that going to affect everybody else? XL claims that they will strengthen the grid. They didn't, and I've lost power 14 times. And my daughter was born in March, and she's already had power out 3 times. And that is very hard for a breastfeeding mother. So I would like to consider the power usage of the company and the data center into your proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Heather Thornton, and I'm a resident of Inver Grove Heights. The core purpose of a development moratorium is simple: to give a city time to study impacts before they're locked in. This morning, you're being asked to study data center impacts, but you're also still considering exempting the only data center proposal on the table. That isn't a moratorium. It's a policy statement that this particular project is fine, made before the study that's supposed to tell us whether it is. Recall where it would be built: 130 feet from an apartment complex, across the road from a daycare, and near senior living facilities. These are the most noise-sensitive populations in any zoning framework: children, sleeping residents, elderly neighbors. If there is a site in the city where the council needs to get the standards right before approving it, this is it. And the standards don't exist yet. Inver Grove Heights has no data center-specific noise ordinance, no setback requirements for always-on mechanical equipment, and no framework for evaluating a facility of this type adjacent to sensitive residential uses. Data center cooling systems run continuously, and the hum is that narrow-frequency noise that research and neighbor experience both show is more disruptive than ordinary ambient sound at the same decibel level, as someone demonstrated earlier this morning. We know this from Bloomington, where residents near a data center reported the constant hum of chillers, enough to force the city to overhaul its zoning rules and require 500-foot buffers from residential areas. We also know this from Egan, where resident after resident spoke about how disruptive their facility is. Some will argue the applicant filed in good faith before the moratorium was announced, and that is a legitimate concern. But good faith does not resolve the city's problem. We do not have the tools to evaluate whether this approval is appropriate. Approving a project we lack the standards to assess isn't fairness to the applicant. It's a failure of our obligation to the residents who will live with the outcome. And that outcome would be permanent. Once this facility is built, whatever standards the moratorium study produces cannot be applied retroactively to this site. The people in that apartment complex, the children at the daycare, the seniors nearby, they're the ones that would have to live with the process where it was too late to protect them. This vote is not a judgment that this project is wrong for Inver Grove Heights. It is a judgment that the city is not yet equipped to make that call responsibly. Excluding this proposal would contradict that acknowledgement at the site where the stakes of getting it wrong are highest. Please table both in favor of the EAW. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning. My name is Mitch, Inver Grove Heights residents. I've been to, like I stated before here a couple of weeks ago and almost a month ago or whatever, this data center stuff's been nationwide for how many years now running? We've got all the facts, we've got everything going. And I brought it up last time I come, or actually I wasn't in front. I'm the one that stormed down the center of the thing. I looked at each one of yous and I said, how did we get here in the first place? Everybody agrees we have a problem. I want to know, ordinance, lawyer talk aside, how in the hell did this get signed? Who put this permit, who put their signatures on the permit? In the middle of this, in the middle of where we are in the country, and never mind our city or whatever, we all know the ecos, my bill's gonna go up. It's proven fact. Everybody has spoken the truth in this room. They have all the facts. I wanna know, as people sitting in front of me, who put their ordinances aside and this and that. I wanna know who put their signatures on this. And never mind this work together. I think you people gotta work that much harder. We don't need no data center in Inver Grove Heights. That's that. Can you answer me that question, Mayor? Did you sign off on this data center? Did you sign off on this permit? You know, there's been other issues here too in regards to this maintenance facility, where a couple of them meetings got shut down short. We're all playing by the rules. We got no cheering, we got no stomping up and down. But where do these signatures come from? What is the status? You know, I'm not a tech person or whatever, but I attended a meeting where that one was closed down too. We're not going to talk about it. Same thing here. I'd like to ask, who signed that permit for this center? Can I ask?
You can,
is that a fair question?
We're in the third reading, so there has been no signature.
Well,
there
no, it's something about the lawyer
statute.
talk. Maybe I'm way off base and don't understand. You signed off on a permit, and now they're saying you can't take it back or whatever. You're liable or
no,
for monies.
That's not true.
Well, then what was all this talk about millions of dollars if we lose this lawsuit in this company?
Because anyone can sue, yes.
Sue for what, though?
Sue for their permitted right to be here.
Their permitted right.
It doesn't mean that anyone has signed anything yet. We're in the third reading.
It sounds like somebody's, so they can sue for millions of dollars or whatever because we don't want them here in our city. And there again, this ordinance says that we're allowed to have a data center. Well, there's where I'm putting another question on you then. How come
I
we don't have
apologize. Your time is up. If you do have further questions, will you submit
You
them
never
to our
answered
clerk?
any of mine. I mean,
Well,
third reading.
I did try to, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Good morning.
I just kind of want to, I hope I'm last. I listened to the lawyer in the $150 million lawsuit that could be pending. I believe if you all and we help you do due diligence, I don't want to be intimidated by the $150 million lawsuit. Let's do due diligence. Let's do our job. Let's work together as a community and do what needs to be done and not be intimidated by a dollar sign. Big companies like that always throw money at things. That's what they do. And you talked about fining them if they're not following the laws. Companies like data centers and other large companies, they budget for fines. It's part of their thing. They'd rather pay a fine and make a lot more money doing whatever they're doing. So let's not be concerned about the lawsuit and intimidated by it. If we can do our due diligence to fight that, let's fight it. I think the zoning laws was brought up. We need zoning laws to prevent data centers from other data centers coming to our city of Inver Grove Heights, because we're going to have to do this again. And the data center that we have, if we lose this thing and that data center goes up, they're probably going to want to add on to do more damage. So let's make some zoning laws. How hard is that to do? Let's just do it. Basically, that's all I got to say. It's not let's be intimidated by a big company. We've done it before.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hello. My name is Natalie. I'm from South St. Paul, and I'm not really interested in kind of convincing you guys of anything because we all know the facts. I'm more interested in the fact that all of us.
If you could please address the council.
Together. Oh, I can't address my fellow community
You
members.
can, but
Okay.
outside of the formal meeting, absolutely.
So I'll just state my piece that the community has shown up. We've told you exactly how we feel. We know that this is a death sentence for us. You guys are afraid of some litigation from some foreign company over in Florida. That's where they're from. We're afraid for our lives. I think that's the thing that we need to have in perspective, is that this is going to impact the quality and safety of our ability to live in this community. And y'all are just worried about litigation and a potential boogeyman who hasn't even actually put litigation in place. So when it really comes down to what is in the best interest of us and y'all, our lives are more important than any potential profit or financial litigation that could come against the city, because we're the city. If they're going to sue the city, that's our money. That's our taxpayer dollars that you're going to take out of our account, or out of our taxes. So if the argument is, oh, we're going to get sued, we're going to have to worry about paying them somehow, you guys can fight that in court all day long. You guys are the council. You know how, you're supposed to know how this goes. But we are going to have our lives taken from us. The water will never go back. It is concentrated into a toxic sludge. It will pollute everything. We've seen all of this. You don't need any more proof that this is dangerous for people's lives, and you're worried about your pocketbooks.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mayor and the councilmen and women. My name is Rich Muller. I live on Avery Drive in the southern part of the city. I was living in Eden Prairie 7 years ago. It was regarded as one of the top cities in the Twin Cities. And through visiting friends, I found Inver Grove Heights. And I sold my home in Eden Prairie, moved to Inver Grove Heights, and I got to tell you, it was one of the best decisions I've made, not just financially, but for my family, school system, and everything. And I'm old enough to have had a few different experiences. I love Inver Grove Heights, which is what brings me here today. I could just me too what many people have said here today, but I wanted to talk to you as a person who co-founded a company 7 years ago. Well, it's actually 8 years ago now. You could look it up. It's called alltechsolutions.org. We design data centers. We build data centers. We also are an approved distributor for Rolls-Royce generators, the type of big generators that are required on projects like this. And the experiences that I've had over the years of having to work through approvals on behalf of our clients and also having to comply with not just the rule of law, but the spirit of the law of dealing with people, employees, and so on. And I came here today just to say there's not been enough study here. Not enough people are aware of the considerations, the longer term considerations, the ripple effects considerations of what's going on here that are not just how much water is being used or codifying how much electricity is being drawn. It's a quality of life issue at the end of the day, and I highly recommend a moratorium for which would draw people like myself and other residents here to come and put some eyes on and help buttress the internal support, which is the goal here, for a data center, as opposed to having it run from outside the city and us having to comply. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Please come forward. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Olivia Sutton. I lived in Inver Grove my whole life. We all know what this is going to do. You all know what this is going to do. I mean, you've talked about it, or didn't talk about it, actually. How are you going to look all of these people in their eye, like I'm looking you in your eye, and tell them this is for their benefit? Who is this benefiting? No one in here wants this. Over 700 people have said they don't want this. How are you going to say, you serve us and do this? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Just a quick question.
Good morning.
Morning, my name's Bob Killeen. Legal talked about the city's exposure above $1 million. Does the city have its own insurance policy for this type of exposure? And if so, why not?
I'll have to have the clerk get back to you about that.
Thanks.
Can you please leave her your contact information?
Will do.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, council members. My name is Bob Quirk. I live on Copperfield Way. I am a lifelong resident of South St. Paul. I am bred. I was an employee there for South St. Paul schools for 25 years. Moved here to Inver Grove. We bought a townhome. It's a very nice community. The only thing I can say about this data center, I'm not into the figuring out. I've just heard about the water usage, the power usage, and we do have power problems here in Inver Grove. It's just, it seems the first clap of thunder, I'm out of power. So how is this how's this data center gonna survive? I don't see it. I'm not handing over my power to them. It's not gonna happen. The thing that I can see here is that I think you ought to start from the beginning, where this all originated from, before the travel tags building came down. I don't think by any imagination that you guys have actually done the work from the bottom and figured out exactly what these data centers can do. Nobody wants them. Nobody. Lakeville, Burnsville, Eagan, Otsego, Duluth. Nobody wants these things. I mean, not getting the message? I would be. I'd get it. And another thing that you don't get, see these people behind you? This is called a million angry people. These are just the people that showed up here today, and 700 people signed a petition, and God only knows there's probably 700 more, and 700 more, and 700 more. And they're all looking at you. How long do you want to stay on the council? It's just something that you ought to start thinking about to make a decision that this data center actually goes away. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Susanna Bodwin. I live in Inver Grove Heights, and I'll be short and sweet. It has never been more clear to me than this morning after hearing your legal counsel that your lack of due diligence and research is going to affect all of us negatively. Please do the right thing today.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Morgan Gillard. I am not an Inver Grove resident, but I work 2 jobs here in Inver Grove, one at the pool and one at a nursing home as a CNA. I think the fact that we are even considering building a loud data center right next to a senior living home is completely ridiculous. Everyone is going to grow old someday, and those who are in need of the extra care of a nursing home have the right to live comfortably. Ensuring that residents are comfortable is one of the first things they teach you as a CNA. So I'm heartbroken thinking of being a senior at the homes next to this data center, listening to or even feeling the constant hum from the data center while receiving care. We have failed our seniors who might have been born, lived, and may hope to pass away in Inver Grove if we build this data center and ensure that for as long as they remain in care cannot live comfortably here. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Cindy Schmidt, and I live in South St. Paul, but I'm very familiar with the area around Fifth Avenue Plaza. I've heard a lot of excellent comments from the people today. The one thing I haven't heard, and I did listen to the lawyers and I listened to everyone that preceded this, that once a corporation has built something such as this data center, there's no amount of fines or litigation that will affect after it's already here. And I just want to tell you from South St. Paul, I can tell you from experience, we have a company called Sanamax. And Sanamax is a very good income for South St. Paul, but they can well afford and continue to pay fine after fine after fine. So you may have your study, you may even find ways to minimize the noise. I don't know how you're going to minimize the water issues, but this company will happily pay every fine you ever give them after they're already in existence. So I'm asking you, please, please, put people over profit and do what you have to do. This is not the place to put a data center. And I thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Rachel. I've lived in Inver Grove Heights since 2022. I'm not saying anything that anyone here hasn't already said, but I want to echo my concerns about the power grid. I live over by Oakwood Park as well, and I have frequent power outages, even during extremely mild weather. Just recently, my power was out from 8:20 in the evening until almost 5 a.m. the next day. I lost everything in my fridge and freezer. So I'm concerned about the power draw for everyone who has to live here. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for your time. Please consider the people who have to live with the effects of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Will. I live in Inver Grove Heights. I just wanted to bring up something I don't think I've heard anyone else mention. For starters, I do want to reiterate my appreciation for the legal breakdown that we got. It was very informative and very useful for all of us. The issue does seem to revolve around the zoning permit. The thing about the data centers is that they are a very new development worldwide with the development of the new technology. The zoning laws have not kept up with the development of these data centers. The zoning laws predate the data centers. I imagine that these data centers are operating under the existing zoning laws and trying to define themselves as something that really is not accurately applicable to them. A data center is not like an office building. It is not like a call center. It's much more like a factory. It would be like having a factory in the middle of the city based on the noise output, based on the energy consumption, exhaust when they're using generators. It is effectively a factory that does not, and it's not going to be a factory that hires a bunch of people in the community to work there. It's automated systems. They're going to run a skeleton crew of people to maintain it, probably people from outside of Inver Grove Heights. And I strongly suggest you take this time that you've been given to look at amending the zoning laws to put data centers where they truly belong. They are little factories. They are not like call centers. They are not like other businesses. They do not belong near residents. They do not belong within the city limits. Like any other factory, you would put it where it belongs outside of the city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Kimberly Birch, and I am a resident of South St. Paul. I currently live and have lived for 6 years in the actual apartment building that sits right, not even a street's width, away from where the data center will be built. I already have chronic health issues, and my family already deals with PTSD, severe anxiety, depression, and also insomnia issues. The constant 24/7 low frequency humming and the 24/7 lighting that will be needed around the data center is less than 30 yards away from where me and my children rest our heads every evening. It's been proven that the lights that they use have decreased melatonin production, which my youngest son is already having an issue with because of medications that he is on. And that the noises go through walls and earplugs. So I do not believe that bushes or whatever they're planning on putting in is going to do anything about that, because after it goes through the wall, it goes through the human body, which vibrates organs and bones. It forces the nervous system to be in a constant fight or flight mode, and it interferes with the inner ear, causing hearing and balance issues. There's also poor air quality, which causes inflammation and high blood pressure, another thing that I also already deal with. That's basically all I have to say. I am already dealing with issues that normally people that don't already deal with have said that they have started to deal with because of data centers. It is literally in my backyard. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Chris Flores. I'm 18 years old. I graduated last year. I've lived in Inver Grove for practically my whole life as well. I really like it here, and I'm not gonna say anything really new, but if you guys aren't gonna really stand up for us, who is? You know, you guys are our voice. You know, it's just kind of weird that everyone here has to say something, and we actually have to push this forward to you guys. You know, but that's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Amanda Daigle. I've lived in Inver Grove for about 12 years, and this is my first city council meeting I've ever been to. Shame on me. And I know that it is a lot of work, and it is not an easy thing to lead. And so I do thank all of you for taking on that challenge. You know, Inver Grove is a great place to live. I think the community, the people, our green spaces are all very important to us here. And as a nurse, I echo the concerns that many have already expressed about the health outcomes of these data centers, but the larger trend is concerning to me, that in data centers and many other businesses, is that profits are privatized and the problems are publicized. And that is a concerning trend. And as others have said, once these businesses are here, they're, you know, it's kind of heads they win, tails we lose. And there's probably nothing that we can legally do about it. I'm not well versed in the technicalities of city government, and but I would hope that that the quality of life that so many of us choose Inver Grove Heights for would be considered. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. All right, that closes out our comment time, and I will ask the council if there is any further discussion or a motion on item D, which is to consider the third reading of an interim ordinance authorizing the study of a data center and imposing a moratorium on the construction or expansion of data centers, and summary of publication resolution, or if anyone needs a recap of the attorney's recommendations.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
You know, from the transparency point of view that residents requested, I'm curious if somebody on staff could share with us when the original ordinance concerning data centers went in place, and maybe the process when an application for a data center comes before us. I don't know if anybody can handle that one for council and residents.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Murphy. We have our senior planner who can talk more specifically about the process that Inver Grove Heights has in accepting applications and the timing of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Councilmember Murphy, just to make sure I understand your question, you're just asking in general how the process works, or are you talking specifically at a previous time, or you're just speaking in general?
I guess the point I heard a couple of residents mention, how did we get to where we are right now? And, you know, since so maybe if you happen to know the date of the original ordinance, that was also, folks were wondering about that, and I think that's a good bit of information to share. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, Councilmember Murphy and members of the council. So it was in 2017 when the city first adopted an ordinance to allow data centers as a permitted use, and then included the definition of data centers. But then to answer your just general question, how the development process works for permitted uses is you, as a developer, you submit what's called a major site plan review, and that's where you have to submit all the plans, pay the application fees, and as a staff, we take those plans and those fees, and then we review the plans against what our city code requirements are, and especially in the zoning ordinance. And if they're proposing to subdivide land, we look at our subdivision ordinance. They're not subdividing in this particular case. So once we review the plans, we make sure it's complete and that there's not any additional information needed. And if staff determines it's a complete application, we then schedule it for a public hearing at the Planning Commission. And that is what happened with this particular application. So it first goes to Planning Commission for the public hearing, and then the Planning Commission, they're an advisory body, so they take that public input and then they vote on a recommendation for the City Council's consideration, and then we schedule it for City Council, and then the Council makes the final vote considering staff's recommendation, what the community's input was at the public hearing, and the Planning Commission's recommendation. So that's the general process.
Thank you. Mayor, I believe, and correct me if I'm mistaken, but I believe we have another decision to make on the EAW. And if I'm not out of order, the residents are looking for more information via EAW. So I'm gonna take the attorney's advice and make a motion to table both the moratorium and the site plan in lieu of the EAW.
Okay. Is there any further discussion from council on this?
Yes.
Councilor Scales?
I appreciate the motion. I was going to make one too, but you made yours first. I want to first say, you know, I've lived in the city my entire life, and I'll die here and probably be buried a mile from my house. So I don't make decisions because someone says they're not going to vote for me. That's not how I make decisions. I have to live here, and I've lived here my entire life. So I try to make decisions that I believe are best for the city. Earlier this week, so many of you came to a meeting I had, and it was a great group of residents, and they understood the issues, they understood the risk to the city with both the data center and the moratorium. And I think that for me, most of you expressed your desire to stand with the city. And if you're willing to stand with the city, I'll stand with you. So I would actually prefer the moratorium to include the existing data center.
Mayor, we'll need a second on John's.
Yep. Mayor, yeah, I was going to add that we have a motion on the floor. We're just waiting for a second for further discussion.
I have, Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
I just have a question for our attorney. So regarding the EAW, we won't be making a decision, we can table that, correct?
Mayor, Council, what you have on your agenda today is the interim ordinance as well as the major site plan. My recommendation was to table both of those. With regard to the petition for the EAW, that is not before you today for a decision. We just received it. It was submitted to the EQB last night. I believe it's this morning, starts the time frame when we have the 15 plus the additional 15 business days, so a total of 30 business days for us to evaluate, and us, I should say generally, the city as the RGU, to evaluate the petition for the EAW, to look at it, and then compare it to the statutory, the statute and rules to see if it meets the criteria for you to either order an EAW or determine an EAW is not appropriate. So there will be a different hearing at which you will be addressing that petition for an EAW.
So my next question, if we go forward and vote on on what's before us regarding the moratorium to include the current data center, what does that do to the EAW? Does that mean that we can use the EAW as a future decision with the whole moratorium with data centers? I don't know if you understand what I'm...
Sure. Mayor, council members, if I'm understanding the question before me, it's if you were to move forward with the third reading of the interim ordinance as is, which includes the current application in it, how does that tie into the petition for the EAW?
Thank you. That's exactly what I meant.
And as I understand it, if you go down that path, you obviously have the current applications included in the interim ordinance. It has to be published to become law. My understanding is you still have to act on the petition for the EAW. I don't think the passage of that interim ordinance prohibits that. All the petition for the EAW does is it delays the decision on the major site plan application. So even after you go through the review of the petition for the EAW, you're going to have to come back and make a decision on that major site plan application. Now, in your scenario, you would have the interim ordinance, which includes them, which will weigh in on that decision, but you still have to act on it. So at some point, that major site plan application has to be acted upon.
I'm just trying to understand timelines. If it makes better sense to table both and then have the look at the EAW, which then could delay if it is decided, or the environmental impacts could then delay the current data center application, giving the city a solid decision or a solid background to maybe potentially not approve the application.
I'm sure, Mayor, Council, if I can, I think that if I'm understanding it, if you were to pass the interim ordinance as is currently read up to this point, that includes the data center, the question, as I'm hearing it, is that if you're being challenged on that, can you use the information you gained from the petition for the AAW to help defend your decision?
Yes.
And I think in that scenario, probably not, because when you, and I'm just going to talk generally with regard to legal actions, but when you are challenging a government action, and in this case, they're challenging the interim ordinance, many times that is based upon the what we call the administrative record that has developed through that process, which includes your public hearings, your meeting minutes, your transcripts from those public meetings. It includes the various staff reports, information you would have received on that, and then the documents themselves, the ordinance themselves. And then so we take that, that's our factual facts that we rely on, and then we compare it to the legal standards. And so then you are evaluating, first of all, are we applying the correct legal standards? And then based upon the facts that have developed in this administrative record that we prepare, does it support the legal decision? And so that's why I indicated I don't believe if you make a decision on the interim ordinance right now without tabling it, you can't then grab onto all the information gained through the environmental process, because that administrative record or proceeding will have closed with regard to the interim ordinance once you make a final decision on it.
Okay. Clear as mud.
Sorry.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Chakotay.
Thank you. So I have sort of two different issues I'd like some help with from our attorney. And I'm wondering, it seems like from just what you just said, as well as what you said previously, that we probably should be tabling both items in front of us until the EAW. I mean, we can, if we want to, we can vote on the moratorium to include or not include the existing data center. It's an option. The other option, another option, is to table both items. By tabling the moratorium, by default, we're tabling the site plan review. But what I would like to know is if you can explain the process, kind of how that process works for the EA. Well, two things. Let me keep on this one. If we were to adopt, whether it's now or a week or 30 business days from now, adopt some kind of moratorium, and it included the current applicant, and the current applicant sues us, can you take us, because I think everybody in this room, I will benefit from understanding what that entire process is around, if they could ask for an injunction, what discovery is, how long those things take, what's that process? And then my second thing will be, what's the EAW process? But we'll get to that.
All right. Mayor, Council, I will try my best. I think I was accused of using lawyer speak earlier, so I'm going to really try to explain it as best I can, but we are dealing with a complex scenario. So if I understood the question is, you kind of want what happens, whether, and I think you were correct, council member, today with regard to interim ordinance, you have two options, and one of those options has two options within it. And so when I say that, your one option is you vote today on the interim ordinance, and then that decision has kind of the sub options. You either vote to adopt it as it's currently been read, or you vote to adopt it excluding the data center. And then the second option, as opposed to a vote on it, is you table it to a later date, till after the environmental review is complete. Your question, as I understood it, is what happens, kind of the process, if you vote on the interim ordinance, it includes the current data center, and they follow through with their May 19th threat of litigation. And, in talking to their counsel and understanding the process, that they would immediately sue the city if you vote to exclude them. That's what they've said in their letter, and they're going to follow through with that. So then we get filed in court. I believe it would be in Dakota County District Court. But it would get filed in court, and then they have a couple avenues. There's different motions they can bring. You mentioned an injunction motion, which an injunction motion is a process where they ask the court just to kind of freeze or stop the process. So what they would be doing is they're asking the court to stop the effect of the interim ordinance. Or they can just go before the court and make a claim. They're called declaratory judgment claims, but really it's a claim asking the court to rule on the validity of the interim ordinance. And it kind of comes back to my prior comment about, I didn't mention discovery, but it was this administrative record. And these are the documents that we put before the court to say this is what supports our decisions, the city's decision. Could they seek discovery and depositions of council members? And that's a possibility. You can't rule anything out. We certainly would push back, but it's a possibility. But assuming there's not discovery, we just end at this phase where we take our administrative record, put it before the judge, we make our legal arguments to the judge, and then the judge has, it's very rare for a district court judge to rule from the bench. So they're going to have some time frame in which they evaluate the various legal arguments, they review the administrative record, and then they make a determination, whether it's on an injunction motion or on just the motion saying declare it invalid or declare it valid. We could get that decision from the court anywhere from, I've seen them as short as 10 to 15 days, but the courts have to make a ruling within 90 days. So you're going to get a court order somewhere in that time frame. And then at that point, we have to just deal with however the court rules, whether they find the city was correct in the adoption of its interim ordinance or the city was incorrect.
And if the city was incorrect, would we have an opportunity, two things, within the 90 days, I think you said they freeze everything, so we couldn't change our existing ordinance, potentially before the judge rules.
Sure. Mayor, Council, if I can address that. When I talked about the freezing or the effect of the injunction order, that would be if they were successful in telling the court that the adoption of the interim ordinance was invalid, it would freeze the current interim ordinance you have before you. At any time during the process, you have the ability to pass another interim ordinance that would exclude them. Now, again, this comes back to what I talked about in my first presentation, is that I'm here helping you evaluate the risk associated with that. And what's the risk associated with that path? The risk is, for some reason, the project proposer is still able to prove damages. So you have a financial risk. The risk is that perhaps they are able to show that, this whole process was wrong, and you go back and someone else walks in the door with a data practice application, and they're able to squeeze in that window between when your interim ordinance is struck down and when you're able to pass a new one. So those are some of the risks there that we're evaluating as to how do we sequence this up to best put the city in a position of the least amount of exposure, but in the same respect, trying to deal with some of the issues you heard today.
And that's where I'm wondering if damages are asserted by the applicant, the current applicant that we have, can we ask to see how they came up with the number they came up with?
So, Mayor, Council, the question is regarding damages. And for anytime someone's going to allege damages, then that's where we would probably go down the path of discovery. And so we would have the ability to investigate how they allege damages, what it's based upon. Potentially, there could be experts that testify regarding that. But then that also increases if they are successful, and I'm not going to admit that, but if they're successful and can get attorneys' fees and costs, this going through the discovery process increases their attorneys' fees and costs and expert costs. And this, if they're successful, the city could potentially have to pay for those in addition to the damages.
So then, last question. Can you explain the process of the EAW? Like, who decides? It sounds like the EQB, the Environmental Quality Board, decides if it's valid or not, and if it should pertain to this situation. But then the city has to figure out if we're going to go forward?
Sure. Mayor, council members, the environmental review process has many steps, and so I will try to summarize it. I'm not going to get into the exact details, but what has occurred so far, and I apologize, it wasn't Carl, it was Carrie, submitted a petition for an EAW to the Environmental Quality Board. The Environmental Quality Board, the EQB, had up to 5 days to determine whether or not it was a proper petition for an EAW. The EQB is not looking at, whether or not there's the environmental effects or what the environmental aspect of. They're really looking at, we have certain statutory and rule requirements for petitions for EAW, and did you read those requirements? Did you have enough signatures? You used the right form. The EQB reviewed that after it was submitted yesterday and made the determination that it did meet those statutory and rule requirements.
Okay.
And then after they do that, they designate an RGU, the responsible government unit, that then has to go in and look at the petition for environmental review. You, the city of Inver Grove Heights, were designated as the RGU because you're the permitting authority. We've got this major site plan. It's also a permitted use under our zoning code. So that's why you're designated as the RGU. Now that you've been designated as the RGU, it starts this 15 plus another 15 business day process for you, with the help of consultants and staff, to review the petition for EAW, and then it comes back to you to determine whether or not that petition for the EAW meets the necessary requirements for you to say, yes, there's enough information here, we're going to order an EAW be completed, or no, there's not enough information here, or no, this project's exempt, we can't order an environmental or an EAW be completed.
Got it. Thank you.
Counselor Scales.
I want to say thanks, but you have certainly reinforced my life choices to not be a lawyer and to be an engineer, because I understood half of it. So I appreciate your ability to be able to explain it. I want to simplify it a little bit, and maybe you tell me if I'm oversimplifying. We seem to keep talking about the end result of a lawsuit, the cost in the end if we lose. But along the way, there are a lot of steps. There are off-ramps along the way. So we do the moratorium, we include the existing application, we get hit with an injunction. That's a decision point, right? That's a decision point for the city to make another decision, whether we fight it, whether we don't. Okay, we don't get hit with that, we get hit with a lawsuit right away. We get to see it, we get to then decide how we respond to it. So over the course of probably, well, we got, 30 days at least for the environmental. We've got all these decision points along the way. And it seems like we just keep pushing the decision point out by stalling this, and it's time to get on that track of making decisions. Let it come to us, we'll make a decision. Let the next thing come to us, we'll make a decision. That's just, I think we're spending too much time talking about what could happen at the end result, and that's a year down the road. You know, I just think there's more decision points along the way instead of sitting here talking about how horrible it might be, when we have all these decisions along the way we can make to minimize if there is damage to the city and cost, we can minimize that by the decisions we make along the process.
Yes, Administrator Heinecker.
We do have a motion on the floor. I'm just looking for a second before we continue discussion.
I believe Counselor Scales made it. Did you second Counselor Murphy's motion?
I didn't get a second.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, I will second it.
Okay.
To table both?
Thank you.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Clerk Kieran, will you call the roll?
Takach?
No.
Dietrich?
Aye.
Leva?
No.
Scales?
No.
Murphy?
Aye.
Motion fails 3-2.
Thank you. Okay, do you need anything else for that item?
A motion?
Motion.
A motion.
Motion, right?
So the motion on the floor failed, and so we'd be looking for another motion.
Thank you. Will someone make that motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the moratorium to include the existing application.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. That would be the third reading of the
Third reading.
ordinance in front of us.
Yep.
Okay. Clerk Kieran, please call the roll.
Dietrich?
Nay.
Leva?
Aye.
Scales?
Aye.
Murphy?
Nay.
Takach?
Aye.
Motion carried 3-2.
Thank you. And that will wrap that portion up.
Yes, Madam Mayor, that wrap that portion up.
What?
Sorry, you need to vote on the summary publication.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. And can you describe that, please?
So,
Thank
Mayor,
you, Mayor, members of the council. There is a summary publication resolution in your packet.
Yes.
You're looking for a motion, a second, and a vote on that summary publication resolution. It does require a 4/5 vote of the council to pass. If it does not pass, what it means is that the full ordinance in its entirety will be published in the paper at a much greater cost to the city.
Thank you. And I appreciate you joining us from holiday.
I would make a motion for summary publication.
Second.
Clerk Kieran, please call the roll.
Leva?
Aye.
Scales?
Aye.
Murphy?
Aye.
Takach?
Aye.
Dietrich?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Now, Madam Mayor and members of the council, you do need to take action to continue the item for the major site plan.
Okay. You're looking for a date? Or just an action at this point?
At this point, I'm going to defer. I believe we can just say to a future date. Is that correct?
Mayor, council, that's correct. You're not recessing or reconvening. You're just making a motion to table it and continue to a future meeting.
Okay, perfect. Is there a motion as such?
Yes, there is a motion here.
Second.
Thank you. Clerk Kiernan, please call the roll.
Scales?
Aye.
Murphy?
Aye.
Takach?
Aye.
Dietrich?
Aye.
Leva?
Aye. Motion carries. Figured you were getting there. Okay.
So, Madam Mayor, members of the council, we still do have on our regular agenda from the 22nd, additional public hearing for matters, of course, that do not relate to the items that were discussed.
Perfect. Okay. So we will continue on with the regular agenda. This is the public comment portion time for any items that are not on the agenda. If folks want to speak on anything that's not on the agenda, please come forward, and you have up to 3 minutes. Seeing none, I would ask if there's any mayor or council comments.
Nope.
Okay. I would take a motion to adjourn.
I do. Oh, wait, there's somebody up here.
Just my apologies. Please go
Sorry.
ahead.
Before we officially adjourn, hi, I'm Heather Thornton, resident of Inver Grove Heights. Waiting for the chaos to die down a little bit. They're cutting into my 3 minutes. Apple Valley, Bloomington, Burnsville, Cottage Grove, Eden Prairie, Edina, Hastings, Lakeville, Mendota Heights, Oakdale, Prior Lake, Richfield, Rosemount, Roseville, Savage, Shakopee, South St. Paul, West St. Paul, Woodbury. Hopefully you're wondering what all those cities have in common. They actually have in common that their public comment sections at the beginning of their city council meetings. I kind of feel bad for anybody who had to wait until the end if they had a concern about trees or roads, and just wanted to put forward that it would be really nice if we could join the very long list of cities across the metro who have open comments at the beginning for items that are not on the regular agenda, so we could quickly go through those things before moving to the consent agenda and all the other items. Would love to see that as a resident who frequently attends the meetings. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that. Mayor Bartholomew did change that when he was in office, and you used to have them at the beginning, I think, for a long time.
Yeah, I think so too. Something to consider for future meetings. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak about items that are not on the agenda? Please come forward.
Hello, I'm Stephen Miller. I live in Inver Grove Heights. I was hoping that perhaps there'd be since the previous 2017 ordinance for data centers, I was wondering if someplace that could be publicly published what that entirely entails, what those are, since I've heard that does not cover what currently is considered data centers. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Have a good